Laura, my dear, how are you? Welcome.
I'm better to be talking to you today. Thank you so much for having me.
Laura, I'm so excited to have you today. It's been years since I've seen you. How's this summer different, or how was the last summer different pre-COVID, if you had to compare it in terms of events and what we usually are used to before COVID hit?
Yeah, I think like all businesses, our events industry was so devastated, and it was very, very unfortunate. Certainly the PNE, as the largest employer of youth, was incredibly devastated by COVID. We are a not-for-profit, and we have a lot of struggles through COVID. We heard last week's announcement, and we are very fortunate that we are going to try and fight on and actually host an event this year.
You know, nothing says summer in Vancouver like the PNE Fair, I think. I think we have so many memories. So many generations have so many memories attached to the PNE. Now, were you relieved to hear when the restrictions sort of were changed, when the announcement was made? Or did you guys all of a sudden realize there's so much more work to be done now? Because once people were so disappointed that, oh no, it's cancelled. And then again, when the announcement was made, Dr. Bonnie Henry came and said, you know, these are the restrictions and we're going to relieve them and events might be able to take place. Is it a lot of work? But is it at the, how would I say it, light at the end of the tunnel?
It's absolutely a light at the end of the tunnel, but I think it's not the work that's the problem. It's the still trying to understand what this will look like and what will be allowed. And that's really the challenge now, is to get our plans in place, to see what may be possible, and to then be able to tell British Columbia what we will be able to do.
What are some of the ideas that you and your team have in place? Obviously, with the PNE, you've been working.
It must be a very scaled down, very scaled down fair. From size-wise, it'll be a fraction of what people normally think of the annual PNE Fair. But we do want to bring the most beloved elements of the fair, whether it's a super dog show or mini donuts or a ride in the wooden roller coaster. Those are all things that people so depend on and see as that end of summer ritual that British Columbians have known for generations. And I keep coming back to the employment because we are the largest employer of youth in this province, but we also have a number of very important low barrier jobs. And those are jobs, a lot of new Canadians who maybe are still developing their language skills. They can't quite get that first job in Canada. So we are an important bridge for that. We are able, because we have so many languages spoken within our staff corps, we're able to provide a very important bridge for people that are just developing their job history here in Canada. And so it's really important that that is recognized. It's a lot of fun. It's an end of summer tradition, but it also plays a very big role in our province. And we generate about $200 million a year in annual economic spin-off into our region. So for all those reasons, we are fighting on. We want to continue to be the place where British Columbia comes together. But we also want to provide those important jobs and that important economic infusion. And so many concessionaires and exhibitors really do depend on us for their family income.
I know so many people whose first job was at the PNE. So many people in their, younger days started out at the PNE, and so many memories attached to it. I know that the PNE was hopeful for some government support, financial support. How's that looking?
Well, to be honest, we are continuing to advance our case, to talk about why we think we are a great investment for government to consider with a one-time grant. The PNE has decades of history of never asking for aid. And that's something we've always been very proud of. But with COVID came a loss of, by the end of this year, we will have lost about $86 million in revenue, which will result in an estimated $15 to $16 million in net losses for the organization. People may not realize we are a not-for-profit. We maintain Hastings Park, which is 114 acres and hundreds of thousands of building space, from the Pacific Coliseum to the historic Garden Auditorium or Forum building, the Agrodome. And we also maintain 2 sheets of ice, both in the Coliseum and the Agrodome, which is used for community benefit. And it is about a $6 million annual cost to maintain the park and those buildings. And so because of COVID, we lost the revenue, but we simply couldn't switch the lights off on a park. We needed to maintain those buildings. We needed to maintain that site. And people really relied on us to have the park available. So that $12 million has really been devastating to us because we weren't able to pay for it ourselves. So we're hopeful that the BC government will consider us a good investment. We've never asked before. It's been very humbling to ask this time. And we are very, very hopeful that they consider those jobs, the collective memory, all the positive things that we do, the community groups that are showcased as part of the fair, plus all the things we do throughout the year. We are one of Canada's most active cultural sites, most active trade and consumer show sites. So there's a lot to what we do, and we largely do it quietly without asking for help. So we're hoping this year that they will consider that this is a year to help us.
Laura, there was, COVID-19 pandemic taught us a new way of living in a way. There's so many different changes that came along, and we sort of adapted to what is. We didn't have a choice. And one of the things that I was fascinated by was how events were organized in such a smart manner, and how you guys were able to pull off drive-through events during, such a horrible time. There was a ray of hope, which was really wonderful. Were you surprised by the response these events had?
Well, it felt like a party at your house where at 7 o'clock, you're looking out the window thinking, is anybody going to come? And that first event, the mini donut drive-through, that was the way we felt. And it wasn't about generating big economics for the PNE. We couldn't have sold enough mini donuts in 2 days to do that. But what it was about was supporting those concessionaires who are so much a part of our extended family, who were looking at zero income for the year. And so the PNE was the first location in the entire country to be able to pull off a drive-through event. Our event, we ended up running seminars and tutorials, handing our plans to events all over North America, use the PNE model as their model. And we received many awards and acclamations for that, but that wasn't why we did it. We wanted to support our staff, and we have so many young staff who rely on employment for university tuition and to support their families. And so we wanted to employ at least as many as we could and generate revenue for as many concessionaires. So what happened was almost a tsunami of support. We heard from people from as far away as England and India and Dubai, people who were from British Columbia, loved the PNE, and reached out and just sent us little notes saying, we're with you, keep fighting, we're so proud. It was amazing. It was so humbling for all of us and very emotional, to be honest. And so we're really proud of that, and we're grateful for the support.
I know the morale has been very down overall. It's just we've all sort of gotten hit by this unexpected pandemic. How's the team doing? How's everyone doing? How are they keeping their spirits up? How you as a leader, how are you managing? How's your mental health and everybody else?
Well, I would say that this latest experience of having to ask for the funding has been a big weight and very humbling. But I think what we've learned is that the PNE has always held that place where British Columbia gathers after the Great Depression, after the First World War, after the Second World War. People came to the PNE to celebrate as a community, and we really feel like we are that place again, and we can play that role. And so I think the one thing about the PNE is we're fighters, and we got a little bit of scrappiness to us. And so I think what you'll see is we will continue to fight on.
We are with you, Laura. You're in our thoughts, and I think I cannot wait to have my mini donuts. So I'm coming down as soon as it opens. So when can we expect an announcement in the coming days? What are you hoping for?
Well, our team is basically, as Dr. Henry and the Premier were doing their press conference, we started, and we immediately at the end of that press conference went into a meeting ourselves, and we began the process of what could be possible. We're hopeful in the next couple of weeks to be able to announce an approved plan. What we're doing is putting together plans at different levels, depending on what it looks like towards the end of August. And so we're very hopeful that we'll be able to, but we certainly feel the love from you and all your listeners, and we are just so incredibly grateful and thankful.
Laura, you are one of the people that I've admired tremendously over the years. I look up to you. You are a role model to a lot of us, to a lot of women. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And
thank you.
Wish you all the best. As soon as the studio opens, I want you down here to come take a tour and give me a big hug.
I can't wait. We're going to get to the other side of this, and we're going to be a stronger group of people, I think, because one of the small silver linings of COVID, I think, is that we've all come together and we've cheered each other's successes, and we've stood up for one another. And so I deeply appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Always here. Thank you so much, my friend. Take care.